Hey everyone, making this short video to go over something that occasionally gets addressed and people talk about with questions or replacing or working on the expansion tanks, vapor tanks that they call. This is under the driver's side in the back of the wheel well. This is the tank actually for the passenger side. Now I can't say, for the most part, it's surprising how good of condition these tanks are for being 40 years old. They're solid. Nothing's coming apart. And on the top, it even still looks almost new because there's been no UV that's ever hit like this stuff. The other side, this was the other side, which I grabbed just to have an example of. This is what it is with the new gasket. What it does is it holds, this is the rollover valve. What this is a small, it's a valve that essentially lets vapor out but not fluid. There's essentially a flapper in there that's got a light tension spring on it. You can get these replacements too that aren't too much. I don't remember how much the gaskets, or the grommets rather, were offhand, a few bucks. I got these from GoWesty. So when you first take it out, chances are the top part of it's going to come off with this, and you have to be very, very careful. There's a semi-rigid line. You don't want to crack this nipple, or there's also two on the bottom of the tank that go to these lines. So this fits up in here. It's got a punch out here that fits into this indentation. When you take it down, there's probably going to be a bunch of gunk up here. I went through and cleaned off. I cleaned the whole thing off, but primarily you really want to clean the top off because it fits in there. It's hard to get in there. It's kind of hard to get in there. And you can even see this is from the factory. You kind of have to wiggle it over there to get it square in place in order to get the one, I think it's a 13mm nut that holds it in place here. You want to clean that off real good before you back it off too, so you don't want to have to replace this if you can avoid it. Wasn't too bad. I hit that with a wire wheel beforehand, put a little PB blaster on it, Croil, something like that, just to keep it clean, and then I'll replace it with a new nylock. And you can reuse the washer. The washer that was on there, I'm assuming started out flat, but was pretty concave. What I did when I took the other one off and put it back on, I just flipped it over and put the nylock on it, and that keeps the tension on there. You want to be careful not to bend this around too much, although once you get this nut off, I found the easiest way to do it is to get something up in here and just gradually pry on either side of it until it comes down, and once it gets off the edge, it'll pop right out. From there, you can take the lines off if you want, very carefully. These were the original lines. Once you twist them, they'll come loose, and then just gently pull them back square. This side wasn't that bad. Yeah, this side wasn't that bad. It still had a fairly good seal on it. The other side had been open for who knows how long, so in the bottom there was a bunch of crusty stuff. So I took and I put a bunch of nuts, small nuts and bolts and stuff in there, and some gas. Held my hands over this, swished it around, poured it out, and it came out really nice and clean. So this is what it looks like with the new gasket in there. Pretty easy to get in. Push on one side, you work your way around, and it's in there. The hardest thing is going to be getting this back in here. Might be tempted to try to put it on here and then put it in there, and that just, it's not going to work because this gasket has got a lip on it. Probably can't see that. It's got a lip on it. This is how it goes in. So you can see you get it in there, and this fits in that place, and then once you put the rollover valve down in here, it actually creates a little pressure on it and holds it in place, and hopefully this will last for another 40 years. What else? I think that's about it. These you don't want to get rid of them. You don't want to delete them. I can't say. I don't think it would mess with. It doesn't matter. The thing is, it's a serious thing that you want to have in there. This keeps you from getting covered in gasoline and the chance that you roll over, which would be nice to contribute to not becoming a human torch. So leave these in. While I was in here, I cleaned all this stuff. There was a bunch of just kind of loose crud, and some of the old coating, wonder coating, was coming off. So I cleaned that off. I'm going to go back later and redo all of this. For now, I just put some undercoating on it that I can I don't know, just kind of protect the stuff that's still on there for now. Eventually I'll blast all this. But anyway, so that's about that. You know, you get these, might as well do both of them, because if one's crummy, the other one's probably close to it. And for one, it's a safety measure. For two, you know, keeping your fuel system as sealed as possible is going to keep evaporation down. You know, it helps. You know, if you had these just open with expansion, you would of course be losing a lot more fuel over time. More crud's going to get in your system. You're going to go through filters and things like that, etc., etc. But anyway, all in all, it wasn't that bad. The hardest thing is I'm going to be getting this back on there. If something feels tight and you feel you need some lubrication, I'd use gasoline. It's all gas. You might be able to use, I don't see why you couldn't probably use some petroleum jelly, because that's one of the things that's suggested to use when you're doing like the sender gasket. I've seen a lot of people say that. It might be alright. I'm personally going to try to hopefully be able to get it together with gasoline. And well, there we go. Cool. Thanks, guys.